Welcome back to Homeschool Together. Thank you so much for joining us. This week, we finally are going back in time a little bit.
Yeah.
As we talked about last week, we're going back in time a little bit to kind of catch up on where India was and the origins of kind of the early civilization in what is known as the Indus Valley region, also known as the Harappan civilization. So you'll be able to Google both of those. Harappan and Mohenjo-daro are kind of big words that you'll run into this week. Kind of this early kind of think of it as sort of like Nile Egyptian civilization kind of erupting off of this really big river valley, big long river. And as we've learned through the curriculum is that a lot of these early civilizations came up on these rivers, and the Indus Valley was one of those early rivers. So if you're trying to know where to place this, you're talking about India, kind of like shaped like this, and it's up here in the Upper Crook, kind of where the southern section of Pakistan right now, and that's where the Indus River is. It comes flowing out of the Himalayas straight down through these big wide valley plains. So that's kind of where we're talking about, and we're talking about, gosh, I think it started around 6000 BCE, and then all the way up to about 1500 BCE, and then the Indus civilization gets taken over by kind of this nomadic people that coming out of the kind of Bactria, Persia area, so kind of coming down off that area. So it was really, really good. So let's kind of get into it. First book is The Indian Children's Favorite Stories.
This is from Build Your Library, and this is a book. This is a book of just like kind of, would you say, like classic folk tales?
Classic folk tales set in India. For me, I think the hardest thing is the pronunciation of a lot of the words have been really difficult. So I've been having to take my time, making sure I'm doing the correct pronunciation. The artwork is really, really kind of fun and playful. I've really enjoyed it. The stories are not too long. So you can see my super cool bookmarks all my girls made for me for Christmas. And so I've been using the heck out of them. But this has been a lot of fun. You're going to read over the next couple weeks a bunch of stories from this book. Absolutely worth getting from the library. I don't know if it's worth purchasing, but it's definitely worth a check out from the library if you're going to use this as the spine for the next couple weeks. So definitely plan your holds at the library accordingly. But
because this is really the main book for that.
This is this in the literature, and we'll get into that. But this is basically your main reading is between these two and then the history quest. So these are the three books, and this is pretty much, other than the little encyclopedia pages you'll read on the ongoing encyclopedia book from Usborne, these are the three pieces of things you're going to be reading about, and then you'll have to supplement beyond that. So this was basically the core of what we read. So we really enjoyed it. The stories were really cute. They were fun. I don't really like folk tales because they can kind of be a little awkward. These were kind of fun. I enjoyed them. They were silly and fun, and my daughters all liked them a lot. So it was a nice little touchstone off to that. History Quest talked a little bit about that. One of the things, maybe we'll talk here through the Child Through Time. I thought we've talked about this book before.
We'll show this cover just so for people who. So Child Through Time. This is one of the spines, and this is fabulous
book. And what's really nice about it is some of the first few kids are these ancient civilizations that we've all known and we've begun to learn. So this is Mala, and so she's a young girl who lives in the Indus Valley, and she lives in the city of Mohenjo-daro. And what's really cool about it is they have these really nice write-ups of the city and sort of like pictures and windows into that time period, and they give you some details, a little bit about the people and some of the culture and all that type of stuff. This was really cool. My daughter really liked this page.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, it's a little embarrassing, I had forgotten about this book, and my daughter came up to me and said, "Daddy, I think there's a page in the children's book about a young girl from India." And I go, "Really? I don't think so. I thought I checked that." She ran over, grabbed the book, opened up to this page, and I go, "My goodness, you are correct."
Yep, so she remembered it. This book made a really big impression. She loved to look at this book well before we ever started doing it.
And we've talked about it before.
Actually, we read through the whole book, I think, before that.
But what she really likes about these type of things is just the window into like children back in time. And I think what's really cool about it is you see this little girl, and this could be indistinguishable from like her friend on her basketball team. And so just to think about, oh, this could be me back in the day.
Yeah, what their lives were like from a children's perspective.
Yeah, they really identify with that. And that's something that we've talked about in the past when we have gone through different books and different book types. When you can get those books that really tailor to the children, they really connect with it. And this is something that she really connects with. So we want to just make sure we included that. And we had actually a little bit of artwork.
Yeah, because they had these impressions. These are these seals.
The seals and stamps. And so I went ahead and printed them off, and I had my daughter color one of them. So obviously that one was not colored, but I said, hey, probably the ones that they had back then, they had painted. So I said, let's have the one that's not painted, and let's say what would you do on your seal if you painted it? So another little small project. It's not really that big of a deal.
We tried to make seals with air clay. Unfortunately, only had blue air clay.
I was on the shelf. I go, I need air clay, and I grabbed 2 tubs. I didn't see that it said blue clay.
Yeah, so
it's not like blue, and then it cures white. It's just blue, and it stays blue. It's super blue.
It like stained their hands, and anyway, so they tried.
I done messed up.
They ended up just making, instead of making seals, they ended up just making little figurines and stuff that ended up falling apart that we don't have to show you. But we did. That would be a great thing to do, is to get some sort of clay and
anytime you run into like ancient civilization stuff that has seals or any type of little artwork, that's the perfect thing to do. If you're looking for something to do, and it's hard to be inventive and creative all the time. So you end up falling, and you'll see this thread through us all the time, like, hey, we're doing some coloring, kids, and we're doing some art and clay, and those are the easy fallbacks.
Those are the ones that our
not
kids
every
go
week can
to.
you have all the gods and goddesses of your family. If you've watched the video last week, sometimes we just get the air clay out, and have a little fun.
So we did a little bit of crayon work.
So because we had to come back in time, and she remembered, we did the Egyptians, we've done the Mesopotamians. I said, okay, but at the same time, the Indus Valley was coming. So I found this really cool thing of ancient river valley civilizations, and I had her basically color them on the map, and so she can remember, Egypt is over here, Mesopotamia, Indus Valley. And she was asking me, Daddy, what are the colors of these areas? I said, well, this is very deserty, so it's going to be brown. And around the valley, it's going to be green. And so she had a lot of fun just kind of, coloring and doing these type of different things. So again, some map work, because when you're doing you should be still doing your timeline. And so a lot of the things on the timeline are just like pictures of people, maybe a little bit of, whatever.
Building.
Yeah, building here or there or whatever. It's really nice to get the maps out and just keep reminding them where we are, what are we doing, where were these people? And so that was a nice little thing there as well. Then we got into our literature.
Right.
Arusha and the End of Time.
So it says it's Rick Riordan. This is Rick Riordan who wrote the Percy Jackson series. So if you followed us through Greek mythology, you know about that. He didn't write this, but he kind of like sponsors authors from different cultures to write different books. And so this is a book that's all set in India.
No, it's not set in India. It's an Indian family. It's an Indian culture.
Okay.
Yeah,
so similar, but it's a fanciful, like a fan.
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Actually set in that really India culture of Atlanta. She's actually set in Atlanta, but she goes back and forth through like different areas in time and everything. So it's
I mean, it's
a
fantasy.
It's a fantasy story. As you can see, it's kind of like, Harry Potter level reading, and it's about 350-ish pages or so. This is a lot of reading, and I'm going to be honest, I don't really like it. I'm about 10 pages
Our daughter disagrees.
Our daughter vehemently disagrees.
So we're about 10 chapters in, right?
10 chapters in, I'm about 60 or something pages in it. And the writing, it's one of those books where it's a little bit overwritten. I think we talked about this with the Theodosia
books back when we did Egypt.
And we just didn't like it. And I think the trick that I gave was you read the first sentence in the paragraph and then move on to the dialogue. And I was doing that here, and it was not working. And I was dragging, and I found
kind of overwritten, just too much flowery.
Too much exposition, too much telling a backstory. And it's in the middle of action, in the middle of dialogue. And so it just felt very stilted. And it was hard to read in that respect. Like I was getting like lost, and then also the story is a little like, we need to go get the 3 keys so we can go to this room of the pool, and then to go over to here and to go over to here. And it's just, there's not a lot of character development. And I haven't been liking it. So I don't know. I wanted to like it because I thought it was going to be kind of a cool thing, but it was just, I think she almost packed too much of the culture in. Like she was trying to hit every little thing. It just felt like there was like a lot. And I wish it was just a little bit smaller, because I thought that the idea of like a mother who's an archaeologist who runs a kind of like a museum, and then the daughter is kind of like trying to impress her classmates, and she makes a terrible mistake and wakes up this shadow creature from this lamp, and then she's getting sucked into this world, and she's one of the lost Pandavan souls and all this type of stuff. I thought that was all really cool, and it was a really cool idea. It's just the execution, I just wasn't digging it. So I don't know what we're going to do. I've
we
got
have
another.
a long way to
I
go.
got 300 pages to go on this one.
So stay tuned as we talk about what we do about
Listen,
Arusha.
guys, you're not going to like every book. It's totally understandable, and you're not a bad person. So.
But some of them are just incredibly long. It's interesting too because this is a Disney Hyperion, which also
did the Mary Pope
the
Osborne.
Mary Pope Osborne Part 1 and Part 2 of the Odyssey. So it's interesting. I don't mind.
They do have it on audio, and supposedly there might be a graphic novel. We don't know. We're going to see what we're going to do.
Yeah, stay tuned to what we do about this. But so far, it's not just that we don't like it. It's really long. We have a long way to go. So
it's a rough read, and it's a long book. So I'm kind of surprised because the curriculum, like for the last couple of weeks, the reading was very attainable every day. And if you're doing the curriculum right now, or you're about to do the curriculum, the daily reading is a commitment, right? Or you're going to have to commit on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, or something like that. Whatever fits in your schedule, your homeschool schedule, you're going to have to get through the readings for the week. And a lot of times that can feel very daunting, but the reading is easy. It's accessible. I felt like this was too much book for the reading. I felt like you got to read 2 chapters and it's 20 pages and it's not small type and it's not big type and you're going to be sitting there reading for a while. And if you're not enjoying it, it can be a real drag. And so it's understandable. This was like, I think the first time there was a book that I just felt like maybe it was dragging a little bit much, or I think she was trying to, because it's such a long book, because I look forward in the curriculum, you're reading it all the way through your 4 weeks in India and you're trying to get, I think she was trying to get to the end of it, but it was just a little too much book for this time period. And but that being said, my daughter loves it. And
so we'll have to figure that one out.
A rock and a hard place.
So stay tuned. That was our first week of the Indus Valley. There's 3.
My weird round circular thing.
Yeah, so we'll see. So this is the first part. I think that we may end up condensing the next one.
Yeah, this week was a little small and a little tight. I tried to supplement a little bit with videos and stuff. There's not really a movie to pick. If you know a movie to suggest for maybe early India time frame, go ahead and put it in the comments below. We didn't really find one. Yeah. I did do some videos, but finding some information on the Harappan, Mohenjo-Daro, kind of this Aryan people that kind of, not the Aryan people like we think about, but they call them the Aryans that came in through kind of the Persia area and took over that area of the Indus Valley. There's some information out there. There's some good videos out there, but they're very sparse. It's not as well documented as I had hoped. So I did a few videos on just the Indus River area, just to kind of imagine like what it looks like, because it looks a lot like what it did back then, except maybe less trees. They thought there might have been a little bit of a climatological change in that area that kind of like crushed that civilization. But other than that, it was kind of a tight week. It was a short week. So if you need like a break, this week was a quick read, quick way through, except Arusha was a little bit long. Everything else was very short and sweet. And I'm looking forward to getting into more kind of like more Indian culture and more of like the religions and everything like that and in the next coming week. But for this week, it was kind of a short week and it's good. We're looking forward to more India.